Welcome to Trader UK, where we discuss money management and how to grow your wealth. Today, I'm going to show you how to submit your UK self-assessment if you are a contractor or freelancer, and I'll aim to do that within 30 minutes. It really isn't a difficult process. For most individuals, they tend to have a very simple setup. Now, contractors tend to work on fixed term contracts for 3, 6, 12 months. They are often paid a day rate rather than a salary, and for tax efficiency reasons, they usually are paid via a limited company. Now, remember, for the purposes of the self-assessment, HMRC want to know about your income and not the income of your company. So in this example, I'm making a few simple assumptions. First of all, you are trading through a limited company and you draw your income from that company in the form of dividends and a salary, which for the most part is always the most efficient setup and the most common setup. I'm also assuming you have no other significant income that needs to be declared, although I will point out where on the return that income would go if you did have, I don't know, maybe property income, dividend income, that kind of thing. You'll need to have registered already with HMRC for self-assessment and be able to log into your account, so you can go ahead and do that now. You'll need to have access to your 2019-2020 P60 from your contractor limited company, which is essentially your end of year summary and will tell you how much salary you received in that tax year. You'll also need to know your total dividend income from your contractor limited company. That's any dividends received from the 6th of April 2019 to the 5th of April 2020. Quick disclaimer before we start, I'm not giving any financial or accounting advice in this video. I'm simply running through a made-up scenario, which happens to be very similar to 99% of contractor freelancers out there. So once you've logged in and you select submit a tax return, you'll be greeted by a screen that asks you to confirm your personal details, address, national insurance number, and it will ask you to answer a few simple questions about if you are registered blind or if you have student loans, that kind of thing. I'm going to skip over this screen as it contains all my personal data, and we'll start from this page, tailor your return. The first question is, were you an employee or director? In this example, I am a contractor trading through a limited company, so I am both a director of that company and an employee. So I need to select yes. Let me do that. And although I am an employee and director, I can just select one, as it's one company that I have this relationship with. If you have, so we'll select yes here. If you have became a contractor in this tax year and you were employed prior to that, when you select how many employments or directorships you have, you will select two, because you'll have one from your previous employer and then you have one from your new contractor limited company. If you have been employed in that tax year, HMRC will actually already know about it, as your employer would have submitted returns and it will pre-populate that employment. In this example, we're just going to select one company that we have that relationship with, that we are both a director of and receiving a salary from, and then move on to the next section. You can input the name of that company. So we'll make one up. Then, was your turnover more than £1,000 in self-employment? Although as a contractor, you can be self-employed as well if your contract is in your personal name. The majority of people set up via a limited company, and that is the example that I'm running through. So I wouldn't have any self-employment income. If you did, if you were a plumber, electrician, that kind of thing, and you had that going on as well, you could select yes here if your turnover is more than £1,000, and it will generate the appropriate section for you. Were you in a partnership? Again, no, all our trade is being done via the limited company. Did you receive any income from UK land or property? So if anyone has any rental properties, this is where you would declare it. You would select yes, and it will generate the section for that. In this case, we're doing a very simple return. I said I don't have any significant income other than my contractor limited company. Did you receive any foreign income? Again, this is if you have dividends from foreign companies, or maybe you have a job abroad that you receive income from, interest from foreign bank accounts, you would tick yes here. If you've disposed of any chargeable assets, so anyone that does any investing, if you buy and sell shares, I don't know, maybe cars, antiques, that kind of thing, and you're making gains on that, you would click yes here, and it will generate the capital gains section. I will produce a separate video on this for those that do investing, how to declare it on their tax return. But for today's purposes, contractor limited company, save and continue after selecting the no button. Next page. Did you receive any interest from UK banks? For the majority of people, the interest rate is so low at the moment, even if it's only a few quid, I would be ticking no here. If you do have significant interest savings income, then you would enter it there. The next one, this one is going to be relevant. Did you receive any dividends from UK companies, unit trusts, etc., etc.? Yes, most likely from our limited company, we're receiving a salary and dividend income, so we'll select yes here. The next one, did you receive any pension income? Just note here, did you, oh, sorry, not this section. The next one, did you receive any UK pension income? No, in this case. Were you or your partner entitled to receive child benefit? I'm going to select no. The reason that they ask that, if you were receiving child benefit and you are what is considered a high income household, one of you is earning, it's normally more than £50,000, they will start to claw back that child income. Okay, so that's why they ask you. Did you receive any other UK income, lump sums, etc.? No. And made any income tax losses? No, in this example. Are you liable to pension saving charges? No. And then we should be able to save and continue. Page 3. Did you make any contributions towards a personal pension plan? No. Just to point out here, personal pension plan, this would only be if you've made contributions direct from your bank account to a private scheme. If you were employed via McDonald's, for example, and they are making contributions to a pension scheme, that is not what they're asking for here. It's only contributions you've made directly from your bank account, because they will give you the tax relief in a different way. Did you make any contributions to charity? No, in this case. If you're born before 1935 and you're married, you used to be able to get a married couple's allowance, but it's not applicable anymore. So unless you're over 85, that's not going to apply to you. Next one, do you want to transfer 10% of your personal allowance to your spouse or civil partner? Again, most people this won't apply to, because contractors tend to have fairly large income. But if you were earning less than the 12,500 personal allowance, then you can tick this box yes and transfer some of your allowance to your spouse or civil partner. But again, for us, it's going to be a no. Do you want to claim other tax reliefs? No. Tax relief funded by Job Centre? No. Did you have a tax advisor? I do not count. This is just an example video. If you had an accountant that has given you advice, you would maybe put it on here. But for most people, if you're just submitting the form yourself, you'll select no. Tax avoidance schemes. A contractor limited company is not a tax avoidance scheme. It's a perfectly legal and accepted way of receiving income from your contract in a tax efficient way. You don't need to declare it as a tax avoidance scheme. So no. Disclose any disguised remuneration? No. Are you acting in capacity of somebody else? No. And then continue. Now, once you've filled that out, you've tailored your return, and it's going to generate all the sections that you've said you have income for. You can go into each one individually or scroll to the bottom, click on next, and it will take you into the first page that you need to complete. And that first page is for our contractor limited company. So from your P60, you should have a PAYE reference. I'm going to make one up here. But if you transfer that across, and then you need to transfer the numbers. So most contractors will receive a small salary. The salary tends to be just under the national insurance threshold. So I'm going to input a figure here. You should, well, it depends on how much salary you're receiving, but if it's under the national insurance and tax threshold, you shouldn't be paying any tax on it. So zero tax taking off. But if your P60 does show that you've had some tax deducted, this is where you would enter it. Tips and other payments you can ignore. Were you a director of this company? Yes, in most cases, for contractor limited companies, you are the sole director and shareholder. And then below that, you have a section if you ceased being a director. So if you were just contracting for a few months and then you're going to close down your company, you would put the date that you ceased here. But in this case, I'm acting as if I'm carrying on as a contractor. If yes, was this a closed company? So if you were this question is if you were a director of this company, was it a closed company? Yes, most likely it's going to be a close company 99% of the time. You can click on the drop down below to get the definition, but it's a company controlled by 5 or fewer people, or participators they would normally call it. Contractor limited companies, almost always one shareholder, one director, so it would be a close company in this case. Now moving down, we move on to employment benefits. Have you received any taxable benefits from your contractor limited company? No, but if you were, I don't know, maybe giving yourself a company car or paying rent, that kind of thing for it, that would actually be seen as a taxable benefit, so you would need to declare it here. Do you wish to claim any employment expenses or capital allowances while working for contractor limited? This section, we're going to select no for it. I'm going to do a separate video more for employed people, where you can claim back some expenses that relate to your employment and get a tax refund. But for contractors, the expenses go through your contractor limited company, which is a service company on your behalf. So no, and save and continue. You have a bit of white space if you want to give a bit more information, most likely not. And then we're on to the dividends section. So what dividends did you receive from UK companies? It's the amount received. There is normally a tax credit associated with dividends, or can be. You're talking about the amount received to your bank account. So in this example, I'm going to input 25,000 of dividends received plus our 8,000 salary. Other dividends, no. Foreign dividends, no. Tax taken off foreign dividends, we didn't receive any, so we can save and continue. It's simply dividends from our contractor company. After this, it's going to bring up a few standard tick box questions. You're just agreeing to the amount, really. Underpaid tax from earlier years, hopefully it will be 0, but this would be generated by HMRC, so we agree with that. Then same again, estimated underpaid tax to be included in your tax code, 0, so we can agree with that. Outstanding debt, we can enter a 0 there. Overpaid tax. So if you have overpaid tax, this won't apply to myself here because I'm going to be due to make a payment, but you can select yourself or a nominee, input your bank details or address, and they will send the refund to you. In this case, it's not applicable because I'm going to have a tax liability to pay. And then a couple more tick box questions. If you're submitting by the 30th of December and you have a tax code, do you want to try and collect the tax and national insurance from that tax code? No, is going to be the answer. And then same again below, no to that section. Adjustments. Again, this adjustments page you can ignore. They're all optional questions. Save and continue. Does the return contain any provisional figures? In our case, no. We know the salary we received. It's from our P60, and we know what dividends we've received into our bank account. So they're not provisional. They are final figures. If for any reason you couldn't get final figures, you can put an estimate in to get something submitted to HMRC and then make an adjustment later on. But just bear in mind, they're going to be expecting that adjustment at some point, so better to tick no. A bit more white space if you want to add any extra information. You can also attach documents to your return. And then let's continue. It will give you a summary to show the sections that you have completed. Looks like they're all completed. So if you scroll to the bottom, click next. It will give you a summary of tax payable. So from the top here, total amount due is 1,387 for that tax year, but they're also asking just below for £693. That's a payment on account for next year. You have to pay your liability for the 1920 tax year, plus your first payment on account, which is half of next year's estimated tax bill by the 31st of January. Okay, if you scroll down, you can see that your second payment on account is going to be paid by the 31st of July 2021. So by the time you get round to the 31st of January next year, you've actually already paid your liability. And at the bottom here, it's always good to click on view and print your full calculation, and this will give you a more detailed breakdown of how they've calculated your tax. Your pay from employments, we said, was 8,000 from our contractor limited company via the PAYE scheme. We then took 25,000 in dividends from our company, a 33,000 total. They'll deduct the 12,500 personal allowance, or whatever your allowance is, which leaves us with 20,500. And scroll down to the bottom. 20,500 to be taxed, 2,000, it's all in the form of dividends here. So 2,000 is going to be at 0%. That's a dividend allowance. You can receive £2,000 of dividend in that tax year, paying 0 tax. So they're accounting for that first. Then the rest, 18,500, is taxed at basic rate, which is 7.5%. Given a total of 1,387.50. Again, a summary of your payments on account. If you save and continue, are you claiming to reduce your 2021 payment on account? So if for any reason you don't think you're going to have as big a tax bill next year, you can amend it here. So let's say you want to get rid of that payment on account completely. Let's put 0 in here and tell them why you're claiming to reduce that payment. They're going to want a good reason. In this case, so you could put, I won't be receiving the dividend income next year, which means it would just be the 8,000 salary and there wouldn't be any tax payable. Okay, you can then save and continue. Save a copy of your return if you like, or print it out. Save and continue. Make a declaration that all the information you've given is correct, and then submit. You'll be prompted to re-enter your password and your user ID. Do that here. And then once the return has submitted, you'll receive a confirmation number. And that's it done. Within 30 minutes, that's how to submit a self-assessment tax return for the 1920 tax year for a contractor freelancer trading via a limited company with dividends and salary income. Like I said, very easy. 99% of people can do this themselves, hence the name, self-assessment. HMRC do believe that people should be able to do these themselves, so why not have a go at it? Thank you for watching, guys. I hope that makes things a little bit easier for you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions about maybe sections that I've overlooked, anything that applies to you, feel free to make a comment and I'll get back to you there.